to be praised.
Shalom, shalom. Here we go again. Here we go. Welcome to Mother Africa Be Calling. I'm your brother, Besalel Yehuda Yisrael, also known as Eric. Hit the like button. Do me a favor. It's real easy. Just hit that like button and share this information so you can help me grow this channel. Real quick. You know, this irked me. You know, the French government and the French governing authorities, the European governing authorities are so arrogant. It's just their arrogance. It comes from hundreds of years of dominance, and it's been passed down. So let's get to it. Niger. In my previous video, I talked about Niger. One of my previous videos talked about the most recent coup, not the most recent, but one of the most recent coups in Africa, Niger. So Niger, the military staff that led the coup, that took control of the country, Niger. Some people call it Niger. They took control. That military, they're in charge right now, right? They did it because they felt like they were being oppressed by France and their people, and that France has taken all the resources of the country and have been doing this for who knows how long. So anyway, that country is in dire straits. So anyway, the military leaders went on, and I'm just giving a brief synopsis of what happened. I already talked about it in a previous video. You probably heard about it. But anyway, that military is saying, look, you know, we had to take this country over because otherwise, you know, our people are just basically being starved out, just in utter poverty, struggles, and it's not changing. This is getting worse. So the president that was in charge, Bazoum, you know, that his military staff, the subordinates, you know, got rid of him because, you know, they say, hey, you know, he's working for the French. And that's what the French do. That's what the European countries do. They basically elect these African presidents for these African countries, so that way they can get steal all the resources from Africa right through the leaders that they put in power in Africa. Now they're in Europe, but they basically controlling Africa through the leaders that they put in. So them African presidents are pretty much, really, you could say that they're just governors, governors for the West, for the European countries, most of them. So anyway, so let's get back to France's president, okay? France's president is so arrogant that he just basically told the military leaders that's in Niger, that's in charge of Niger, the ones that led the coup, who are now controlling Niger. He told them, I'm not even going to acknowledge you. He's not even acknowledging them because they said to France that they want the ambassador, the French ambassador to Niger out within 48 hours. Out of Niger within 48 hours. They want him out. In response, France's president, being arrogant, said, I'm not even acknowledging y'all. You know, I mean, I'm saying it how I think it was. I'm not acknowledging them. I'm not acknowledging them. They need to basically restore the president that they removed. You know, he acknowledges him as the president, so he's not acknowledging them, right? That's so arrogant because, you know, he's saying, you know, we need to restore democracy. Look, the people, he's not stupid. I'm talking about the French president. He's saying they need to restore the democracy. You know, he's only going to acknowledge the democratic president, basically the one that they installed, the French installed. So, but he's not stupid. The people in Niger are in the streets celebrating the takeover, celebrating because these people are oppressed. These people, right, are in utter poverty. The country is one of the poorest countries in the world. Their resources are being taken by the French daily. It's rich in uranium. The country Niger is rich in uranium, but yet it's one of the poorest countries in the world. Citizens are suffering, right? Little children, women, men are suffering because of utter poverty. Why? Because the French is taking all the resources, sucking up the resources right there in that earth, sucking it up, and using it to enrich France, right, and its allies or whatever. So now, as we talk about uranium, because Niger has uranium, French does not have it. The French does not have uranium, so the French controls Niger's uranium. Uranium is needed to power the French's power plants for their electricity, to run their businesses because they need electricity and all that. Okay, so now Niger, who has the uranium, I think it's something like 80% of their people do not have electricity because France controls the uranium mines. France has private companies that control the uranium mines in Niger. So now, the president of France is so arrogant, he said, I'm not even acknowledging the military leaders who are now in charge of the country because they took the country by force. He's not acknowledging them. This is how arrogant he is. He's like, it's not democratic, basically. How a European country are going to tell these people who are citizens, you're not even a citizen. You're not even a citizen. And how do you know? Maybe they do not want democracy. Maybe that's your way of governing. Maybe these people are sick of democracy because it's not working for them. Obviously, it's not working for them anytime they're extremely poor, but yet they're rich. But yet they're sitting on gold. They're sitting on riches that you're using. And then they say France, because of the military coup takeover, they say they're sanctioning Niger and they're going to cut off funding. Now, listen to this. Niger would not need your funding if you wouldn't be taking their resources. So in the funding that they give it in loans. Then Niger ends up owing them. These African countries are in debt to the European countries, but yet they got all the things, all the resources to sell to the European countries, but the European countries put all these puppet presidents in these African countries that they control so they can get the resources for free and then give loans to the country that they have oppressed and then charge interest on the loans. So get it? So these African countries are in dire straits because they owe money to the European countries, but yet the European countries are taking their resources from these African countries and using it to enrich themselves and making the African countries poor where they in need of aid. Then they give them aid and a loan, and then they end up owing them. So this is what happened to Niger. It's been happening to Niger. So Niger, this military coup happened, and the military members they took over. But see, here's what needs to happen. What needs to happen is, I'm waiting for this, that Niger's military leaders get to those uranium mines and get France out of there. Get control of their uranium and nationalize it. And then sell it on the world market. If France needs uranium, they need to pay for it at the market rate. So this country can use their resources to bring in income to build up their infrastructure. And if they're building up their infrastructure, that moves the country out of poverty. Why? Because it would open up businesses and jobs for its citizens. And that works for everybody. It would help not just Niger, but the surrounding countries in Africa. All of them need to start looking at this. It will help the surrounding countries, and also it will help the entire world. Because people will be traveling there, spending money, and other people may come in and get businesses there. It works for everybody instead of a small group of people, right? And so let me tell you something. I grew up in a poor neighborhood, right? But I'm going to tell you, the poorest of neighborhoods, but we have never been as poor as some of the people in parts of Africa. Meaning that when I was in Tanzania, I saw children with book bags on their back walking home from school and they had absolutely no shoes. So they went all day in school, every day with no shoes, walking, you know, on some sidewalks, but there's a lot of dirt roads, side roads, you know, walking across main streets, no shoes, right? All day in school with no shoes on. Now that's poor. They don't have electricity. And here's the thing. They would not be in this condition if it wasn't for European countries taking the resources. Okay? And so, how arrogant these people are that they would feel as though, that's right, we got a right to it, and we're going to continue to take it. And if you get upset about it, we'll bomb you. You know, the threat of taking military action against them. Why can't these African countries do the same thing that the other countries, European countries that have resources? So say like even Saudi Arabia, they have oil. They're not being dominated like the African countries by the European nations. They get to sell their oil, OPEC and all, they get to sell their oil on the world market, you know, for whatever prices that are set, right? So we talking about only Africa are not in charge of their resources. And and a lot of these countries are not developed or underdeveloped, and their people are getting poorer and poorer. They're at least not from generation to generation. Nothing has changed. This is remaining poor, but yet the European countries then control the airways and show these people as poor and like, you know, just pathetic, and you know they need help and we're helping them. No. Africa is rich. It has everything that the whole world needs, but they go in and dominate it and steal it and take it by force. You know, they rob them of it. They take it by force. Why? Because they got all the weapons. They got bombs, guns, and planes, and muscle and might. And they use that to take and take and take. So we got to pray. We got to pray for righteousness, that the almighty hand comes in and he turns this around and turns it around suddenly. Let the power of the almighty hand be for the poor, to be for those who are in need. Okay? Let his hand work for them, and may they glorify him. Shalom.